Hello there, and welcome back to Unfilter That Lens, the podcast where we talk about the icky, sticky side of mental health, the real, raw, and authentic side of mental health. If you've been following our series, you will know that we have been speaking about anxiety, and we've paid specific attention to the anxiety in my family alone. So remembering that there are 5 family members here, and that each of us suffers with a different form of anxiety, actually. So it's really interesting to delve into that. Maybe through the course of this podcast series, you've seen or heard something that has resonated with you or maybe within your family. If that's true, then just reach out to us. Let us know that you've resonated with it, but also take it a bit further. Anxiety is not something to be messed with. Anxiety can cause a host of different symptoms, and there have been many people who have been diagnosed incorrectly, but there are also people who haven't been diagnosed at all. Because anxiety can mimic a heart attack. You can feel like you're having a heart attack, and that's actually a panic attack. You can feel like you can't breathe, like you're hyperventilating. You can feel lethargic and tired. You can feel frenetic and nervous. You can feel agitated. You can feel irritated and frustrated. You can feel down. You can feel isolated. Anxiety is not something that discriminates. It is not a mental illness that discriminates. It is not a mental condition that discriminates. And I think I want to get that through to everyone today, is that if you've been following our podcast series, you probably have noticed that trauma is quite prevalent in causing anxiety. But you also don't need trauma in order to have anxiety. Sometimes there is pressure in life that we are unable to cope with, or maybe we don't have the coping skills to be able to handle pressure. I'm thinking about the parents out there whose kids are going into high school or maybe starting school or going up a grade, and suddenly things are changing. Suddenly things are getting a little bit more difficult, a little bit more pressurized. Maybe there's a lot of stuff that's being asked of you as a person. Someone who's entering the workforce for the first time, someone who's entering university or college or any type of higher education. I mean, these types of things are very, very difficult for some people to handle. And here's what I want to say to you. It's okay. It is okay. It's okay if you can't do it right now. It's okay if it's too difficult right now. It's okay if you feel like your world is collapsing and you feel like maybe you need to take a step back. Not everybody progresses at the same pace. And I think what we forget is that when you are dealing with mental illness, and especially anxiety, you can only move as fast as your body will allow you. It's pretty much the same with depression, with OCD, with borderline personality disorder, with bipolar disorder. These are different types of mental illnesses, just to name a few, but there are many, many, many. And your body will respond in a way that might not always be true to what you really want. So let me give you an example. On Tuesday morning, I woke up. I was so tired. I'd been up most of the night, and my dogs have got kennel cough. So I'd been up most of the night with the dogs, and I was really, really tired. And I thought, gosh, I don't really know how I'm going to get through today. I'm so exhausted. But I didn't feel anxious. I went out. I had a lovely day, and my anxiety was at quite a low. Come the evening, Tuesday evening, suddenly, out of nowhere, my anxiety started to really kind of get a bit like difficult. When I say difficult, I mean like I could feel that weird buzzing underneath my skin. I felt a bit shaky, and I didn't know why. And usually when I get like that, I get quiet. So I tend to retreat a bit because I become a little bit more introspective. But it's interesting because my family are so tuned to each other. And there was a time where I would just try and hide my anxiety from them. I didn't want them to have to worry about it. But my husband is very in tune with me, and I am very in tune with him. And he said to me, "Can I run your bath? What do you need?" Because he could see that something was going on. And I said, "No, I think I'm fine. I'm feeling a bit tired, and I think I just need to go to bed." And we went to bed early. I slept, felt like $1,000,000 the next day. But the exhaustion from anxiety is real. When you've had anxiety for a prolonged period of time, your body is actually exhausted because you are continually in fight or flight mode. You are continually on edge, alert, waiting. You're continually in survival mode. And this stops you from actually reaching the next level or reaching your higher potential. It can be very debilitating. And now, I want to remind people that I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a doctor. I'm a life coach, an empathic listener. I'm someone who's lived out these scenarios for real life. Do you know what I mean? Like for reals. And as I listen to my kids, as I listen to my husband, I'm so aware that within the family unit, how someone is feeling affects the rest of the family. And it's so interesting because you wouldn't actually think so, but it really, really does. And I think we forget that our actions and the way we communicate, the way we are with one another, this all matters. It matters how we speak to one another. It matters how we communicate with one another. It matters how we treat one another. All those things matter. Now, I'm not saying you have to be perfect. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not a believer in perfection. I believe you can strive for perfection, but I don't believe that you can ever be perfect. But I do believe that in striving, we can come close and we can have unexpected successes along the way, and our lives can open up and be incredible. But again, just what you say in your family unit matters, and how you speak to one another matters. And why I say that is because, you know that saying where it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's really true. And that's why I think personally, this is my personal opinion, I think that is why there is a lot of miscommunication via social media. So I'm talking email, text messages, Instagram messages, TikTok messages. When you cannot see a person's face, or even if they put an emoji, we don't know what the tone is. What tone are they using? Like, do they look animated when they're speaking to us, or is it just downright disrespectful? Like some things are disrespectful, right? You know that they are like not okay. And other times people get really bent out of shape when actually that person was not being disrespectful or nasty or anything. Actually, they were actually just voicing an opinion. They were maybe commenting on something, but there's no malice, no anger, no hurtful intent. And yet we misconstrue it because we can't see the person's face. We can't see who they are, what they're saying, and how they're saying it. So in my family, even if someone speaks in a disrespectful tone, or in a tone that is maybe sounding rather abrupt and harsh, I'm more inclined to look very closely at that person. And I know my husband is the same. We're more inclined to look at them and kind of go, okay, right, what is happening in your body right now? What is happening? And this all goes on inside my head. I don't know about my husband, but inside my head, I'm looking at whomever, whether it's my son, my daughters, my husband, whatever. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I'm wondering if you know what you sound like. And sometimes my first question will be, hey, are you okay? Like that'll be my first question. Or it'll be, excuse me, would you like to explain what's going on? There's very rarely a time when I will use the mom voice. The mom voice that, hey, that tone. It's very rare. I don't really need to because my kids are big. My twins are 18 and my eldest is 21. So I don't really use the mom voice with them. It's very rare that I use that. But what I will say is that learning to listen has been a really, really integral part of learning to manage anxiety. Because my anxiety used to go through the roof when I would think about having to confront or talk or, maybe my kids had done something and I needed to bring it up and speak with them. And it would cause me anxiety. It would, because I didn't want them to think that I was trying to be confrontational or that I was trying to be, but there were certain things that needed to be said. And I was really anxious at trying to get them across. But when I learned to listen, when I actually learned to actively listen empathically, I learned so much about what was really going on within them. I learned so much about what really goes on inside the mind of someone who is anxious. Never mind my own thoughts and my own anxiety. I had to try and understand my kids' anxiety. I had to try and understand, how am I going to get them through this? How am I going to build them up, send them out? And as I said to you before, my kids all have a team of people around them, which we are so grateful for. They have, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. They have support from friends and family. They are medicated. 4 out of the 5 of us have ADHD. My son also has autism. My daughters haven't been diagnosed, but show traits and signs. But, we're all a little bit spicy. We're all neurodivergent. There are certain things that I do where I go, oh, okay. And I understand a little bit more about why I'm doing things because of what I've experienced with my family members. So what is it that I'm wanting to say today is plain and simple. If you have anxiety, you are not alone. If you are struggling, you are not alone. If you are wanting to reach out, you are not alone. There are people out there who are struggling daily with anxiety. There are people who are always trying to come up with new ways to handle their anxiety. So, you might be wondering, what do I do? What are my first steps in handling anxiety? What do I do? So look, there's various things. You can go and talk to a life coach. You can talk to an empathic listener. You can talk to a psychologist. If your anxiety is at the point where it needs to be medicated, you will be referred to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist will then have a session with you. And when you are diagnosed with anxiety, or if you are diagnosed with anxiety, they will medicate you to help you to cope. Does it mean that you'll be on medication for the rest of your life? No, not likely, unless the psychiatrist stipulates that. But in my experience, in my own life, I haven't been on anxiety medication for years, until very recently when I hit menopause and I started with the great menopause anxiety. I'm not sure if any of you out there are suffering with menopause anxiety. I know my sister and I both are. And and when you have a compromised autoimmune system, it's also, that is not fun. But there are many different ways that we can deal with anxiety. There are many things that we can do in our own time, in our own space, to help us start our day off right. The one thing you can do is breathing exercises. Now, a lot of people go like, oh, please, I can't with the breathing thing. Like that's fine. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Breathing exercises are a way to regulate the body's nervous system. It's a way to bring the temperature down, to bring your heart rate down, to really listen to your body and to try and get in tune with what it is you're feeling and where you're feeling it in your body, and then connecting with that and breathing deeply so as to release that tension from your body. So there's many different breathing exercises that you can do. There's also meditation. I'm not great at meditation. Like, I will be honest, like 5-10 minutes of meditation, and that's my limit. Then my brain starts to go like, are you done? What are you like? Are you going to do this for a long time? I'd love to go into a deep state of meditation, but that usually happens when I'm praying. So meditation for me, just to start my day off right or end my day off right, is generally 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of going into a state of peacefulness, of calmness, thinking about my day with gratitude, thinking about what I can improve on, letting go of anything that I've done that maybe seems is wrong, or have I been, have I been rude? Have I been disrespectful? Did I say something? Is there anyone I need to apologize to? Like, just kind of going through all of those kinds of things. There's also exercise. Now, I know for many of you, and trigger warning, especially for those in recovery from an ED, I know that for some of you out there who are in recovery, exercise is maybe not on your list of things that you're allowed to do. But if you are allowed to do exercise and you are allowed to use exercise as a way to alleviate anxiety, I really want to encourage you to do that. And it varies for different people. Yesterday, I was feeling a little bit anxious, and my son came to me and he said, "Hey, Mom, do you want to go to gym?" I said, "Sure." I didn't feel like going to gym. Didn't really want to go to the gym. But you know what? I know that exercise helps. So if I went to the gym with my son and I did his little program, albeit not as well as he does it, but what I found was that when I finished that workout, I was tired, but I felt calm. I felt peaceful. So exercise can be anything from going to the gym or going for a walk or swimming in your pool or walking on your treadmill, or stretching, or just doing a few Pilates stretches, or if yoga is your thing, then yoga stretches. Like, it doesn't have to be run a marathon. It doesn't have to be run a 10K. It doesn't have to be swim a like 3K. That's not. I mean, if that's your thing, hurrah for you. When I see people running, I get very confused, and I'm just like, are you doing that for fun? Like, is this a fun thing for you? If they say yes, I'm like, good on you. But in terms of anxiety, there is so much that you can actually use to alleviate anxiety and to reduce stress. Now, one of the main causes of anxiety is obviously stress. So there need to be ways that you can really work out your stress, ways that you can de-stress, and whether that means going for a massage, going for a foot rub, maybe meeting for coffee with a friend. I don't know, what floats your boat, what de-stresses you, what fills your cup. Think about those things. Maybe it's lying under the trees and watching the clouds. I don't know. I don't know. I find one of the ways that alleviates anxiety is distraction. And this has been quite an interesting thing for our family, because we have found, and especially with Lauren, whose anxiety can sometimes become overwhelming. It can really become debilitating. We have found that the art of distraction for anxiety is incredible. So spending time with others, immersing yourself with others, which actually with anxiety is the last thing that you feel like doing, but doing it can actually alleviate your stress, can alleviate your anxiety, because you're distracted. You're not thinking about it. You're listening to people. Sometimes when we don't want to see people, what we actually need is to see people. That is actually what our bodies are asking us for. And I think that that's really important to understand, is that sometimes we have to push beyond what our norm is. If your norm is to go up to your room, close yourself in your room, isolate, cry, panic, that's not effective. That's not effective. What we found in our family particularly is that when we tell someone that we're anxious, I'm feeling really anxious today, there doesn't need to be a reason. There doesn't need to be a trigger. We will automatically ask, has something triggered this? Nope. Okay, cool. How do we help you? What do you need? I don't know what I need. Okay, let's think of a couple of things. Let's go outside. Let's go for a walk. Do you want to go to the gym? Do you want to go to a movie? Would you like to watch some true crime? Because like we're a true crime family. What do you need? You know, my daughter is a film major. So like, do we watch some films with her? Does she want to tell us about the geography of the shot in cinematography? Does she want to explain to us the way that the camera is moving and at which angle it is placed for whichever reason? Things that we might not understand, but these types of things will de-stress her, and she will be able to kind of distract herself from that feeling of anxiety. Do I take medication for anxiety? Yes, I do. I take a tiny little pill on the days where I'm feeling particularly anxious. Unless my doctor says, I think you should be taking it every day. So far, I take it when I need it. If I wake up feeling hugely anxious and I know that it's going to be a day, then I'm going to take a pill. If I wake up and I'm absolutely fine, but then during the course of the day, I find that I become anxious, I'm rather more likely to use some techniques to try and get rid of that anxiety, whether that means closing my laptop and walking away and doing things that calm me down. I'll do that. Oftentimes, I don't really know that I'm anxious. Does that sound weird? Like that sounds weird, but I don't, like, I'll be working, I'll be studying, because I'm always studying, I'm always trying to learn. And suddenly I'm like, why can't anything go into my brain? Like, what is happening? Like, what is this about? Why? And then I suddenly realized, oh, actually, this is affecting the way in which I work, the way in which I'm communicating. I need to actually step away from this because I can't function properly. And I will often close my computer. I will often just go, oh, well, not today. And I think I'm very lucky in the sense that I work from home because that allows me the space to do that. When you're in a work environment, that's very difficult. When you're in a 9 to 5 and you have to maybe step out to the bathroom, maybe you have to hide in the break room. But I will tell you that because mental health is something that has been taken more seriously, I'm hoping that in the workplace we'll see a much more wider view of what anxiety is and how we can cope with it. Right now, if you're attending or if you're seeing a psychologist and maybe the psychologist tells you that you definitely need, you're not depressed, but you have anxiety, then, and you will probably definitely need some medication. But you can't get that from your medical aid because they don't consider anxiety as a disorder. It's mainly depression. That's a very hard thing because anxiety can affect your quality of life. It can affect your ability to work. It can affect your ability to study. It can affect your ability to participate in activities. And because there's so many different types of anxiety, I mean, as I spoke about before, there's OCD, there's panic disorder, there's social disorder, there's PTSD, CPTSD, there's generalized anxiety disorder. And there are many different types of anxiety that a person can feel. So I'm hoping that even if you're in the workplace, that your boss's view on mental health is changing, will change, and will allow you the space to be able to do what you need to do in order to be mentally capable and able to do what you need to do in the workplace. I want to encourage you to keep listening to our upcoming podcasts because we're going to move into a little bit of a more serious kind of episode. And we're started off with depression. And I want to encourage you that if you suffer with anxiety, sometimes that can lead to depression. So sometimes our anxiety can become so metamorphosized that it becomes something completely out of control, which leads us into a state of depression. We will talk about some very triggering subjects, but for now, I want to encourage you that if you are experiencing anxiety, please get it checked. Please go and see a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a life coach, an empathic listener, someone who will hear you. Because most times with anxiety, we need to be heard. We just need to offload, to speak openly without judgment or condemnation. We need someone to tune into what we're saying. We need someone to hear what we're saying and acknowledge and validate what we're saying. So thank you so much for being a part of the series on anxiety. I'd love to talk to more people about what they suffer with. I mean, it can't just be my family. I know that there are people out there who are suffering terribly with different kinds of disorders, mental illnesses. Please get hold of us. Please come and chat to us. Please, we'd love to have you be a guest on our show. And then just in closing up, I just want to make sure that you know that there are different ways to manage your anxiety. Research it. Research anxiety. Find out everything you can about anxiety. Read books, read stories, read other people's testimonies, read books about people in recovery from anxiety. Read. Mindfulness. Mindfulness is an incredible technique that can help you overcome anxiety. Relaxation techniques, breathing techniques, which we've spoken about, cognitive therapy, behavioral therapy, exercise, building your self-esteem, learning that you are able to stand up for yourself in a situation, that you are able to say, no, you've crossed a boundary. Because for some of us who experience anxiety, it comes from that people-pleasing phase where we're trying to so hard to make sure that everyone's happy to our own detriment. That's another podcast in itself, people-pleasing. See if you can do some structured problem solving. Sit with someone. Speak it out loud. Oftentimes, just getting something out in the open is half the battle won, because it sits in your mind and it goes around and around and around and around, and you can't quite make sense of it. And yet, when you speak it out loud to someone, you're like, oh, wait, this isn't. Oh, actually, this is fine. I can do this. You know, it's like when you wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat and you're worrying about something so trivial, but at that point in time, it just seems so major. And then you fall back asleep. Eventually, you wake up in the morning, you think, why was I worrying about that? Why was that an issue? Because suddenly there's clarity, right? That happens to me sometimes. Meditation and support groups. Support groups I'm a huge fan of. Just listening to other people's stories is a beautiful way to kind of release yourself from the shame, from the stigma that comes with suffering with a mental health issue. Sometimes people don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be a part of your life because it just seems like too much drama. Goodness knows, I've heard that one enough times. People are weary of allowing you into their space, because they don't really want to deal with that. They don't really want to be responsible for that. You are responsible for your own behavior. You are responsible for your own mental health. You are responsible for taking care of yourself. And if you're a teenager, if you're struggling, if you're a mom, if you're a dad, I just want to tell you, I know it's tough. I know that there are things that you would really rather be doing than struggling with anxiety. I know the future seems diabolically unclear. And I know that for some of you, you are feeling like your lives are really in danger just because you are who you are. And I want to encourage you that there are those of us out there who are supporting you 100%. There are those of us who are on your side. There are those of us who know what it's like to walk around with the shadow of anxiety, keeping a close contact with the heels of your feet. Don't give up just yet. Don't give up just yet, please. I know that anxiety feels threatening in a lot of ways. I know that it can be overwhelming and really destructive. Please get help. Please phone a friend. Please reach out. Please allow yourself the space to acknowledge that you are not alone and that what you are feeling, it is not the first time that someone has felt that way. So whilst our experiences may be different, there are those of us who know intimately what it is like to walk the path of anxiety. And so I leave you today, hoping that you will join us again next time when we start our journey into depression. For those of you who are listening, who suffer with depression, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to know your story. We'd love to know where you're at. And what do we do when someone has depression but won't acknowledge it? What do we do with someone who clearly has a bipolar disorder but will not, for the life of them, get treatment? How do we cope with our own depression? How do we cope with postnatal depression? How do we view the world in a positive light when we have this very heavy and oppressive darkness that feels like it's going to consume and swallow us? So there's so much to talk about with depression. I hope you'll tune in. I'm hopefully going to be inviting some lovely guests on our show, and I can't wait to get into that. And I also can't wait to hear your comments and your feedback. I'd love to know who you are and where you're listening from, and what you've been through. Your stories are valid. What you feel is valid. Who you are is valid. And I salute you. So here we are, signing off from Unfiltered That Lens, thanking you for your time and your listening ear, and hoping that as you continue your mental health journey, that you will heal, that you will recover, and that you will find peace. Till next time, okay, bye.